December, wow, December 3rd meeting, Park and Rec Commission here at the Bob Kroll Boardroom. So how about I have a roll call?
Chair Meyer,
I'm here.
Vice Chair Walt. Here. Commissioner Baker Roberts. Commissioner Case. Here. Commissioner McDermott. Here. Commissioner Schutte.
Here.
Commissioner Whitefield. Here. A quorum is present.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on down the line here, we have time for public comment. What we're going to do is anybody can come up, and I'd like them to sign in. And you have 3 minutes of public comment. You can talk about anything that has to do with the Park and Rec Commission. There is no dialogue between the Park and Rec Commission and you guys while you're having public comment. So with further ado, let's get moving. It looks like we have somebody here already. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair and members of the Commission. Surprise, my name is Leah Cartwright, so I will change that on our commission. I am here tonight. I do serve on the Parks and Recreation Commission, but I am here tonight as a resident of Carson City, as a parent, as a voter, as a constituent. As you all know, there was an election last month. We had 2 measures on the ballot related to road funding. Both of those failed substantially. That said, in the master plan for Mills Park, there is a proposal for a new road right through the middle. You all on the committee have heard my spiel before about roads and parks. I think the vehement opposition to road funding from our city, as shown in the ballot question results, should cause pause for this body and for our Board of Supervisors. I would urge a recommendation from this committee to our Board of Supervisors to have another look at that master plan for Mills Park and consider going back to the Park and Rec Commission original proposal to not have a road in the park, given the fact that there will not be funding for a road. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nobody else has any public comment? No, I meant the little one in your lap. Never mind. Okay. Thought maybe she has 3 minutes, so. Danny, come on up. Welcome. State your name. You dropped something there, but.
Denny French, Carson City. Thank you, Chair and Commission. I'd like to ditto what Leah had, I'm sorry, I should use her last name, Commissioner, yeah. Anyhow, I also would like to add to that if you've been out there recently, the tranquility would be lost by having that road there. And as you had brought up, Commissioner Schutte, as a board member and as a commissioner, that there's more to be looked into on that, the idea of parking and traffic that would be, and the considerations towards the animals and the people involved. So I want to ditto on please reconsider or open it again as you had suggested to more consideration. I also would like to point out the flyer or the material I just put out 5 minutes before the meeting. This material suggests that while this Board of Supervisors actually didn't hear your concerns about the materials, they did take the crumb rubber off of the option, and I'm sorry, the time wasn't done, so I think I'm running over, but the main thing is that the crumb rubber is off the board as far as artificial turf. I'm asking you to look further into the newer information available and recognize the dangers of the turf itself and the fact that it pollutes the air, the water, and soil. So besides killing everything in its path, it's not a good deal with our water use, because then the water that we do put on it for whatever reason, to heat it or to cool it or to whatever our purposes are during the winter, it might be to heat or melt the snow, and during the summer it will be used to cool the turf and keep the kids safe. I suggest that on Prison Hill 2, I have several questions, and I know you can't respond, but I'm hoping that someone will. I'd like to know the update on the monkey flower and also on the wandering skipper butterfly. As far as Prison Hill and the construction there, I think it's been ignored, and I've been waiting for their response on it's standing. It's down as an endangered species now, so please consider that. But also, please consider taking turf off the table altogether. I feel we have the potential of making great fields if we fund the parks properly, and we wouldn't be putting the outflow of the money and then the toxicity into our community. I have measures and papers on the weight and such of the material and then the disposal of it. And we're really looking at a mess here. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you very much, Danny. Is there anybody else out there that would like to make a public comment? Come on up, sir. Welcome. You can sign in there and state your name. Make sure the light's on the microphone while you're talking. Thank you. It needs to be green. Yes, sir.
Thanks.
You're set.
This is my second time at a meeting. I did do the last Board of Supervisors meeting, and I learned a lot about being up here, talking, how to do it. So just refreshing myself. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. My name is Bill Noble. Oh, right. How's that? Oh, that's perfect. Don't want to blast you away. My name is Bill Noble. I'm a resident of Carson City, a voter, and I live in the new Lampa Ranch subdivisions, the Cross Creek area. And I have questions about the arrangements being made for the maintenance of the Lampa Ranch Park that is being proposed. Okay, and so this park, a 10-acre park we're talking about now, and the park right now for its maintenance, for future maintenance after it's been created, what I understand is it's going to be the responsibility of the homeowners association under the landscape management development. And I just ask if this makes sense. The homeowners are going to pay for a public park to maintain it. The entire public has use of it. So why isn't the city of Carson paying for the maintenance of this park? It just doesn't make any sense to me, and the homeowners I've talked to, doesn't make any sense to them either. Why should we pay for a public park? The only thing I could come up with is that, Carson City's had a lot of difficulty raising money, just like the supervisor said that, but the Leah case said that, 2 bills failed to raise money for improving roads. And we know what the roads are like here. There's some pretty terrible roads. And so the citizens of Carson City, are reluctant to raise taxes to pay for things like that. And so I see it as this is a way of Carson City raising money without raising taxes. I don't know what else to call it. And right now, Carson City has over 30 parks. I have not gone and looked at them, but I have heard that some of them are in disrepair. Carson City has difficulty raising money to maintain those parks. And there's only one other park in Carson City that is under this same agreement. Schultz Ranch Park. There's new subdivision over there. And they are having a lot of questions about what's going on. It isn't fully developed yet, but they're having a lot of questions about what's going on. I would hope that Carson City would look at other things, funding sources, like they're doing for Mills Park. All those funding sources we have for Mills Park, community development block grants, other grants by, BLM, which don't even require matching funds. The open space program, that was passed a long time ago. Part of it is to improve, maintain parks. And
Sir, your 3 minutes is up for the beginning of the meeting.
Okay.
This issue is on the agenda, and we will be discussing this, so hopefully you'll stick around and learn a lot that's going on, as the board and the rest of the city's going to learn when this topic comes up on our agenda. So
all right, well, thank you, Chair.
you're very welcome, and there is a chance at the end of the meeting also to have public comment. So if you
Okay.
hear something during that and any questions for all of that, we can direct to Jen, and she can help you later on. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to make a public comment? Okay, well, seeing none, we're going to move on down the agenda here. So for my commissioners up here, have we all had a chance to read the minutes from the August 20th meeting? Since we did not have a meeting, I think it was in October, we were supposed to have one. And if so, do I have a motion to approve those minutes or any changes? Okay, seeing no changes, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of August 20, 2024?
I move to approve the minutes of August 20th, 2024.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Dave, thank you. So all those in favor of approving those minutes, respond with aye.
Aye.
There we go. Any opposed? We're moving on. Thank you, everybody. So the next thing we have here is, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
No, I'm sorry. And it was just a question, but in our packet, we have the draft meeting minutes for the regular, and it states Tuesday, October 3rd of 2023 at 5:30. I had a question on that, on why that was in our packet, and it's on the agenda. If you read the agenda, it states October 3rd of 2023. Am I reading that correctly?
We have December 3rd here. We did have a meeting that we didn't have a full agenda. There was a fire and Duncan couldn't come and so forth, so we canceled that meeting.
But do you see for possible action item number 4 and see how it reads? So on our agenda, item number 4.
Yeah, for possible action, approval of minutes, Park and Recreation Committee minutes, August 20th. Click here for staff report. And that
Mine
would be
says
the
October
minutes.
3rd, 2023. I am not making this up.
Do you have maybe you have a copy of the draft minutes, I'm not sure.
No, the agenda.
I mean, the draft agenda. I think as a,
okay.
as the
Look.
As the assistant commissioner, you and I both get draft agendas.
Because this agenda is from,
It's posted correctly on the website.
Okay, we cleared it up. So the minutes that are in the packet from August 20th is the ones we voted on. Are you comfortable voting on those, Molly? Because you did vote and you did say aye. Okay, so we got all that cleared up. All right. So now Jen's up. Is it Jen or is okay, Greg. Well, welcome up, Greg. He's going to talk about the path up here on Highway 28, that beautiful Lake Tahoe that we share here in Carson City, part of. So thank you, Greg, and welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So for the record, Greg Bergeron, Trails Coordinator with Carson City Parks, Rec, and Open Space. So tonight we would like to provide you with an update on the State Route 28 Corridor Management Plan, as well as an update on the Lake Tahoe Path System. And it's my pleasure to introduce Tara Steyer, who is the Capital Program Manager with the Tahoe Transportation District.
Thank you. Good evening. Tara Steyer, Capital Program Manager with Tahoe Transportation District. So TTD is working to implement several projects in the SR 28 corridor between Incline Village and Spooner. Summit. And those projects aim to improve transit, expand the East Shore Trail, and also create some parking to relocate those shoulder-parked vehicles into more designated appropriate spots. So we'll review those projects this evening, as well as discuss a draft MOU between TTD and Carson City, Douglas County, and Washoe County. Okay? So, maybe over here. Should I try the mouse?
It was working earlier.
That's okay. That's technology, right?
Yeah.
Here we go. Okay. So if you've driven along SR 28 in the summertime, these images are probably very familiar, right? And some of us avoid that area in the summertime because of these types of situations. So you don't have to look far to recognize that congestion and safety are some concerns, but we also have some environmental concerns here. So just starting at the top, we have the disorganized, unauthorized parking. In this photo, it's extending into the forest, and that can create some sort of fire hazard or just an unsafe situation in general. Then we have the general congestion. Of course, SR 28 is a highway, so it's intended for through traffic. We want to keep the traffic moving through there, so if there's emergencies or any response that's needed. Then we have the shoulder parking. So that heightens our erosion and impacts the structural integrity of the highway, especially along those steep grades. Then we have our pedestrians walking along the shoulder here. Often pedestrians are spilling over into the travel lane, sometimes darting out between vehicles. Then we have the vehicles parked over the fog line. So that, of course, narrows the travel lane, forcing vehicles into the other lane. And then we have, it's kind of difficult to see on this slide, but we have a gentleman on what we call a social trail. So when they're forming their own trails down to the lake. Again, that's creating more erosion, and that fine sediment is running off into the lake, impacting clarity and the ecosystem. So recognizing that this is a problem, in 2023, 13 partner agencies came together, and they created the SR 28 National Scenic Byway Corridor Management Plan. I'll just refer to that as the Corridor Management Plan, or CMP, moving forward. It's a mouthful. So the plan had 5 goals: improving safety, protecting the lake, enhancing the visitor experience, expanding multimodal transportation choices, and then, of course, promoting economic vitality. So the Forest Service, in conjunction with us, created the environmental assessment for the region. So all of the proposed projects we'll see this evening are included in their environmental assessment, and that was completed in 2019. Also a product of the Corridor Management Plan was a corridor management team, and we meet bi-monthly to talk about the operations and maintenance of the existing trail and parking facilities, as well as some upcoming projects. So it's important to note that the CMP looked at beach capacity, and those numbers estimated that we would need to relocate approximately 674 shoulder-parked vehicles to designated lots. Now, recent shoulder counts show us that we're closer to 1,000 shoulder-parked vehicles on a busy summer day. So once the off-highway lots are open and connected to transit and the trails, the no parking zones would be expanded along the corridor. So, of course, improving that safety components. So also worth noting, we have seen some success. So the first 3 miles and the off-road parking has really resulted in people complying, and they're not parking in those no parking zones. So I think that that's the proof of concept that we need to continue this type of approach throughout the corridor. And we recognize that it's not a one size fits all, one solution is going to solve all the issues in the corridor, but we feel that the CMP is a really huge step in the right direction. So there are a number of other transportation plans that support these efforts. So we've got the 2017 Linking Tahoe Transit Master Plan. So that plan focuses on a mode shift or transferring those vehicle trips onto transit. And in order to reach some of those ambitious goals, the 20% mode shift, we definitely need to expand transit to these recreational areas. And then we also have TRPA's 2020 Regional Transportation Plan. Those goals directly align with the goals in the Corridor Management Plan. And then finally, touching on safety again, we also have TRPA, or Tahoe Regional Planning Agency's Vision Zero strategy. In that strategy, they identify high injury networks throughout the basin, and a number of those networks are within the corridor. So all of this just goes to show that we have a consistent methodology for this transportation planning. And no single solution is going to solve all the issues in the corridor, but we have the shared responsibility of the partners listed at the bottom of the slide here. So I hope that most of you have this handout. So it's going to be much easier to read if you have, okay, great. All right, wonderful. So just basically the projects are in a segmented incremental approach because we're looking at partner agencies' priorities as well as available funding. And it is a patchwork of different funding sources in order to deliver these projects. So this overview includes the completed project as well as those that are proposed. I also want to note that this is a very living document. The costs and the funding projections on here, as well as the construction date, is very fluid. So starting at the top, we have the North Trailhead and water quality. So this is a continuation of the East Shore Trail, which was completed just south of there. And it also expands the parking that's near Tunnel Creek. So it's essentially stage 2 of that initial project. And the proposed project is being designed with up to 45 parking spaces in the NDOT right-of-way. So we'll be sharing some conceptual drawings with the community pretty soon for that project. So if we move just south, we have the completed East Shore Trail. So that was completed in 2019. It's 3 miles of trail between Incline Village and Sand Harbor, and it is incredibly popular. It's accessible to basically all ages and abilities, and it sees usually over 200,000 users per year. It has really become the destination rather than a means to get to the destination. So we did some surveys in summer of 2024, and 49% of people surveyed said that their ultimate destination was the trail. So I think that that's powerful. So the next segment is Sand Harbor to Thunderbird Cove. So this is in that mustard color. So this is 1.75 miles of shared use trail. So that's going to extend the East Shore Trail further south beyond Sand Harbor. And an exciting part of this segment is it was awarded $24 million in RAISE grant funding in 2024. So moving forward there, and we'll also be discussing this when I talk about the MOU a little bit later. So then we have the Central Corridor, Thunderbird Cove to Secret Harbor section. That's in that dark orange color. So it's just under a mile of trail with parking improvements at both Chimney Beach and Secret Harbor. So it's a combination of up to 250 parking spaces. The Forest Service has constructed the parking lot at Chimney Beach, but the amount of parking spaces for Secret Harbor is still being discussed. So the construction of the lot at Chimney Beach was phase 1. Phase 2 will occur this summer, and where the Forest Service will add a pedestrian crossing, actuated signals, restroom, parking kiosks, those things. So then we have Secret Harbor to Spooner. That is 5 miles of trail, and it's certainly part of the network, but we are focusing our efforts on the other segments right now. So we don't have any funding available for that segment yet. And then finally, Spooner Mobility Hub and Aquatic Invasive Species Inspection Station so this would be constructed directly across from Spooner Lake State Park. It includes over 200 parking spaces and a mobility hub with a permanent AIS inspection station. So many of you have probably seen the temporary or the seasonal station that's at the corner of 50 and 28 near the sled hill. So that would be relocated to this location. On site, there would also be connections to the future trail, restrooms, and other related amenities. So NDOT is also planning some intersection improvements there, which could include a roundabout. So, moving on here. So this is the MOU that we'd like to discuss. So back in 2012, an MOU was created between Carson City, Washoe County, and Douglas County to outline the use of State Question 1 funding. And that was for the state line to state line bikeway. So now that funding is actually called Conserve Nevada, and we need to update the MOU. So the program regulations for the Conserve Nevada funding list $5 million in a set-aside, essentially, for the Lake Tahoe Path System. So it's specific to projects in the basin. So an MOU is needed so those local jurisdictions can name TTD as the project lead, and we would receive funds then to keep the projects moving forward. So the proposed distribution for that $5 million is $2 million for the Sand Harbor to Thunderbird segment that we covered, and then $2 million for the Thunderbird to Secret. And I should note that the Sand Harbor to Thunderbird is located in Washoe County, and then the Thunderbird to Secret is between Washoe County and Carson City. And then the remaining $1 million would support a final trail segment in South Shore between State Line and Laura Drive, so in Douglas County. So that, so State Line, it would run, actually, we have a map. There we are. So the green section here, if we start at this, the south end, that's State Line, and then it would go around Lake Parkway and then connect on 50, and then it connects right there to Laura Drive behind Dart Liquor at the base of Kingsbury Grade. So the South Demo project also includes a sidewalk and a multi-use trail, and it will essentially connect to completed trails at Laura Drive that go on to Nevada Beach as well as Round Hill Pines Beach. So once we have this Phase 1A completed, the resort casino core will have car-free options to Nevada Beach and Round Hill Pines Beach. All right. So with that, I can take any questions and hand it over to Greg.
Diane, do you have any questions? Okay. Dave?
Thank you, Chairman. I was looking through the numbers here on parking spots. You mentioned the need for maybe 1,000. I'm counting in these projects that are proposed 530. How many are already at the East Shore?
So we have 90
90.
spaces.
So
yes.
that puts us a little over 600.
Yeah, we'll probably be a little short of our goal, just due to topography and other challenges.
Yeah. Are there any other options being looked at?
Definitely, transit will be an option for folks. So we have a proposed mobility hub in Incline Village, and then of course the Spooner. I know that that's counted in your projection of parking spots, but hopefully folks will utilize transit to get to those recreation destinations.
I'm not sure I'm.
Oh, and thank you. Karen Mullen is our consultant with Tahoe Transportation District, and she reminded me that we have a turnover rate of 3.1 currently at our Tunnel Creek lot. So we use demand pricing there, and so that encourages folks during those peak seasons and peak times of day, maybe not to stay as long because the pricing is a little higher midday.
Probably getting the cart before the horse here, but it seems like there's a pretty large number of unfunded activities.
There is.
What kinds of, what means are you looking at to fill those?
A lot of federal discretionary grants. So this Conserve Nevada funding is going to be key to match the federal funding.
Ambitious plan.
It is, indeed.
Good to have good, high goals.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Dave.
Thank you.
Molly?
Hi, thank you for the presentation and bringing this forward. Question about the parking. Who will own the parking lots?
So the parking lots will still remain within the jurisdiction. So currently, so the parking, for example, the Tunnel Creek parking is within NDOT right-of-way, and we have Washoe County maintaining the operations and maintenance for that lot. For example, then Spooner Mobility Hub, that's on Forest Service land, that will remain Forest Service.
So then who sets the parking fees?
The corridor management team.
Can we add something about the parking fees to make sure that it is kept as Nevada residents have one fee and non-residents? I would hate to see what happened at Zephyr Cove. If you're not a Douglas, it's more. So like a Douglas resident down in Zephyr pays a whole lot less than anybody else. And so I think for non-Douglas residents, it was $100
Yeah.
on like the 4th of July. And yeah, so I would hate to see that we exclude that if Washoe County is, maintaining it. And if they're able to set any of the fees, I would hope that in the MOU, it is set as, right now, it's set as Nevada residents, $10, non-Nevada residents are $20. Boating is $20 for Nevada residents, $25 for non. And if it was in the MOU, then they wouldn't be able to change that.
So to date, we have used the demand pricing, as I mentioned before, and rather than giving residents a discount, we encourage them to come early, come late, pay a lower rate. That's our tagline there. And additionally, recognizing that they have access to the trail around the year. But I can certainly bring that suggestion back to the corridor management team. Yes, please.
Sorry.
No.
Don't
this
be
is great.
sorry.
Sorry, Karen Mullen, and I'm a consultant with the TTD, and I've lived and breathed the parking stuff. So, and I understand what they did in Douglas County and the new fees that are going on at Sand Harbor, and totally get the issue. What we worked with the communities on was that we surveyed residents as well as looked at the non-resident issue. And if you come early, come late, which was preferred not to be in the crowds, the residents preferred to come early, they actually pay $1 to free. And so the first part of the day is $1 to free until it starts at 9 o'clock, I think, going up to $1, 8, 9 o'clock. And then it starts ratcheting up really in the 10 to 3 time period. And when I say ratcheting up, we're talking $4. So the average price at the Ponderosa lots is $11 or $12 for the day if you're there for the whole period. But we're trying to help the residents who had requested something similar, but by pushing, they go early and they go late, they like those hours anyway, we actually are giving them free to $1. So anytime after 3 o'clock, or before actually 10 o'clock in the morning, they get these really good rates. The visitors come between 10 and 3, the out of state, to these parking lots, these lots that
Right.
are on the corridor. So that's how we dealt with it up there on the 28 corridor, which is a little different than what happened at
Yeah.
50.
So can you define residents?
It's any Nevada resident,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, and so with those
So-
residents that spoke, were they vacation homeowners to where they're not really, maybe not there during the time?
Sure, I mean.
Like Airbnbs, VRBOs?
They were, I would say that they were owners of those VRBOs. They were people from Incline Village or residents of that area. We actually even surveyed here in
Okay.
Carson. We surveyed in Washoe County, in the valley floors as well. So when we first laid this out, we did asked people not only who lived at Tahoe, but who lived outside the basin as well. So residents, meaning
Okay,
Nevada
Nevada
residents.
residents. And my concern is that, yes, this is, Nevada money, Nevada taxpayers and whatever. And this last summer, it was extremely, extremely hard to get up to Tahoe. It was almost, many days, it was impossible. You got turned around, right when you're trying to get in there. And I figured myself early, it was before 10 o'clock. But it was on a
Into
weekend.
Sand Harbor or into?
Sand Harbor.
Sand Harbor, yeah.
Yeah.
With the new reservation system
Yeah.
went into effect in August. So I don't know if that's helping or they didn't set aside a specific portion to Nevada residents at
Residents.
Sand Harbor. It's just, you have to book a reservation. And that now is in effect there. So it might be a little different at Sand Harbor.
Yeah, so I would just hope that it would be a little bit more resident friendly.
Yeah, no, and that is a part of the operations agreement, not this particular MOU. This is dealing with the funding portion of it, but we'll note that and talk about it at the CMT, the corridor management team. Greg is part of that team and others, so we'll bring it up again. But that's how it was designed, and that was the preference of we tested what people liked and didn't like, and yeah. So, yeah, thank you.
Lisa?
Thank you.
Done, right?
Sorry.
Thank you, Molly.
I just had a question back to the SR 28 Central Corridor, San Harbor. You had mentioned that there was a large grant awarded.
Correct. We received the RAISE funding grant in June of 2024. So that funding does not require a match, which is wonderful. So the planning and engineering RFP is currently posted. And kind of the first order of business is looking at value engineering to get some of those prices down.
Wonderful. So at this point, the unfunded need is no longer 18 million?
It is still 18 million
still- okay.
based on the initial estimate. But we're confident that the value engineering analysis will bring that down.
Okay. Yeah, and I love this project, and I appreciate the forward thinking and protecting, the infrastructure of the surrounding area. Just the dollars are just so huge, but
Agreed.
I'm understanding that there is money out there, and it's just really knowing how to go after it and having a really good project to up the possibilities of being granted funding.
Yeah, I think dedication, tenacity, we go after pretty much every funding source that we can at this point to deliver these projects. And this is why we're focusing on the ones I mentioned and kind of giving that last 5 miles, recognizing that's going to be down the road.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Liam? Jacob?
Hi.
Hi.
Well, I grew up in Tahoe, and so I have a pretty tight connection to it. Can we go back to the first slide with all the pictures of the problems?
Yeah.
Perfect. My concern is I don't see any enforcement. And I got a $300 ticket by Lakeshore this summer, so I know that there are patrols, but it's kind of like if you're in the wrong place or if the residents have additional funding for whatever. Anyway, so the enforcement I think is a huge problem. It would back up your safety claims, and I mean, my wife commutes to Incline Village every day. So it's a nightmare. We have to leave an hour early, maybe more. All these people coming down to the beach, if you drive up on a Monday, you'll see bags of trash. A lady even famously got in trouble from NDOT for picking up the trash and throwing that away in their trash cans. So enforcement, cleanup, these concerns are huge. I grew up in Kings Beach. It's a massive beach. It's a huge problem. Gets me going. So that's a concern of mine. With that, who's gonna maintain, like, emptying the trash cans every day? Who's gonna, people need to go to the bathroom. There's only one vault toilet at Skunk Harbor, so is there improvements for additional bathrooms? Those types of things. Are there any sponsors for this who are law enforcement specific that were on the bottom banner? You had
Yeah.
IFGID and all them?
Yeah,
Okay.
so Washoe County Sheriff, as well as Nevada Highway Patrol, are both members of the CMT.
So that goes back to my enforcement. Would there be an increase in enforcement? Like, are we gonna, because
Yeah,
that's
you can take
also
that one.
funding. There's a lot of money here.
I'll take the law enforcement one. We actually just met with, I've actually met with your sheriff and the undersheriff, and we are now talking about how we would roll out the no parking zones. And as Tara mentioned earlier, we do monitoring metrics along the corridor, and in that incline to Sand Harbor segment, where we do have the no parking zone, we found that we only had what we call 4 leaks, meaning 4 cars parked, figured out a place to park. And we are going to harden those areas. So it's a combination of things. It's not only just enforcement, because as NHP will tell you, and or the sheriff will tell you, we have better things to do than to go after people that are parking their cars on the shoulder. Where they really concentrate on is those that park over the line, and that's the ones that will in general get tickets. I'm not saying that might not have been your case, but we increased the fines up there to discourage it. We harden the areas as we build the trail and the parking and all of that, meaning we go in and we do boulders and we do guardrail and we do other things to discourage that parking so that the sheriff and others don't have to just enforce. And then we do do a heavy public outreach campaign saying, now we are extending this from Sand Harbor to Chimney Beach, and then it will be Chimney Beach to Secret Harbor. So there's a lot of public information campaigns that go out about what we're doing, because we're really there to make it a good experience, but we want it to be a safe experience as well. So just understanding that and trying to figure out how we can help people in managing their parking experience. Tara's also working on a program where they are working with a grant. These are all pretty much federal grants, so just so you know, it's federal dollars coming in to the Tahoe Basin, whereby we'll be able to look at space availability. So you will know, our goal is to, when you leave Carson City, you can look on your iPhone, or as you go up Highway 50 onto the corridors, whether it's 50 or 28, we eventually want you to know, just like you do in a parking garage, how many spaces are left. Because then you're more apt to go and take transit rather than go clear down the corridor 5 miles to find out Chimney Beach is full. So that's the goal, and as we build these out, they are working to put in the technology and the cameras and things that will monitor the space analysis for us and alert you before you even get there how many spaces are available. So it's a whole sort of array of tools to manage this congestion and to manage the parking up there. And it hasn't been done in a recreation area in our area ever now. So they're looking forward to seeing how it plays out here for Emerald Bay.
Where
So,
can we find the
yeah.
results for these surveys that were taken?
we-
Is-
We
That'd
can
be
certainly
nice.
provide those.
They're not public, though?
Yeah,
They're-
they're public,
Okay, so
absolutely, yeah.
I'm sure people would be curious to see
Yeah.
those too.
all of our surveys are public and all of the information is public.
We
so.
go to your website, where's that?
I can put up my contact information again,
Okay,
and you can contact me directly.
yeah, I mean,
Some of it we don't put on the websites because it'd clog up the websites, but we can certainly get you any information you'd like.
yeah,
The actual plans are on the websites, the corridor management plan, those plans that Tara spoke to are, but all the smaller stuff that we do, it's not generally on it. But we
that
can
brings me
find
to
it.
like one of my first impressions, like, I really hate to be a downer, but like, that's my home. I grew up there. Like, my family just sold their house of 35 years, like, last week. So I really am going to bat for the people who live there, not the residents, the local. We're locals.
Yeah.
Your CMP doesn't mention anything about the local. That's a concern of mine. Safety, sure, but it's the visitor and revenue, essentially.
Went to Tahoe Lake Elementary School, so I really get you.
Kings
You
Beach
know, I do.
Elementary.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, and we've seen a lot of changes over the years, and it's how do we still be welcoming, but how do we,
not give
whether
away the
you,
shop.
yeah, whether you live in the basin or you live here in Carson City and go up to the lake a lot, it's everyone's lake, but you know, how do we make it a good experience for everybody? Yeah.
I just don't believe the answer lies in like federal funding eventually trickling down here. When driving, there's, you know, if that's a $300 ticket, I could count probably close to $1 million any random day. So
Yeah.
those are my hangups.
It's, you know, it's hard. I don't want to belabor this because you have a lot on your agenda, I think. But I will tell you that we've looked at everything from towing to whatever. And where do you tow them to? And then how somebody comes up from the beach late and their car's been towed. So we've gone through all of those things as agencies. When you see that long list of 13 agencies, we are all really trying to figure out how do we be good stewards of the land? How do we handle this congestion issue and yet, you know, make it a good experience in the end. And we really think in the end, we need to alert people before they even get there. How many parking spaces are available? We need to address turnover and make sure that people, you know, are cycling through and not just clogging up.
You also don't want people driving up, looking at their phone on the East Shore looking for a
Yeah,
parking
there'll
spot.
be signs
Yeah.
that'll say, just like
Okay.
in a parking garage, you know, there'll be signs that say
That's good.
32 spaces, 10 spaces available or whatever. And hopefully, you know, a lot of people don't believe them, no matter what. They're going to still go down, and that's what happens at Sand Harbor.
Yeah.
And that's why we get the stacking. Sand Harbor is looking at a master plan amendment to redo their entryway to possibly put the stacking inside the park instead of out on the highway, which will be helpful for people commuting. So
Absolutely.
we do try to look at the commuter, the recreationists, the, you know, just all of the people. So that's what that quarter management plan tried to address, is all those facets. So I don't mean to take up all the time there.
I'll talk all night about
No,
it,
it's
honestly,
a
trust
tough,
me.
it's a tough one. It is tough, yeah.
Yeah.
Understand.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I love the East Shore Trail. I love all the improvements. You know, I love it. I just want to make sure it's done right, thought out, because like Dave said earlier, it's pretty ambitious.
Yeah,
And
it
there's
is.
I could see a couple of gaps, and these are the gaps I'm looking at. Yeah, I mean, if you have 1,000 illegal parking spots a day, and that's a $300 ticket, that's a lot of money.
Well, and hopefully when we go to the no parking zones, we won't have that. And, you know, so a lot of people say, well, just fine them. And well, you know, at some point you really do need to move them to the appropriate place and then not have that fining and not have the sheriff or NHP doing that. They have better things to do than ticket people.
Well,
So,
these people are in the street, that's a concern.
yeah, that is a
Like,
concern.
that's a
Yeah.
highlight.
Thank you.
If I may, you brought up a couple things that I'd love to address. So the operations and maintenance for the existing trail is Washoe County, so they handle that. And the parking revenues then support the operations and maintenance. And so far, that's worked out really well. You know, a lot of our partner agencies, including ourselves, are concerned about the restrooms as well. So we have 3 seasonal restrooms at Tunnel Creek. So there's signage that it is predominantly, you know, a summer-focused lot. There are planned to be 4 restrooms at Spooner. And then still in talks about how many restrooms will be at Chimney and Secret, but definitely facilities at both.
Okay,
So,
awesome.
thank you.
Okay, so I work up there at Sand Harbor and have for the last, I'm not, excuse me, up at Tunnel Creek Bikes, and I drive a shuttle and do that 2 or 3 days a week. And yeah, all of the things are what that is. I see that every single day and shake my head, because if you saw what was going on there and it was a video, you would actually laugh, because the people, once they can't find a parking spot, they go insane. So I'm going to give you a couple of my 2 cents. No parking sign means absolutely nothing. Does not mean a single thing. You need to put a K-rail there and force people not to park there. And it needs to be, and then you also have to be careful, because what you're not showing is all the bicyclists that are trying to get through this. And when you say your number one concern is safety, I mean, your number one concern is safety, and you have people trying to drive through there, walk to the beach, and ride their bike around the lake. It's insane. So no parking means nothing. Just because you think we need 1,000 spots, why do we need 1,000 spots? I mean, I think there's a serial capacity at those beaches. We need to figure out that capacity and then figure out the parking spots, because I'm looking down there, and I grew up here also and know those beaches, that whole stretch of very, very well. And I see these people coming, and I'm like, are they sitting on top of each other's head? This is a high water year. There's no beach down there. Where are these people actually going to recreate? Another thing is the bathrooms. Not only the bathrooms at the parking lots and so forth. You know, you go down those trails, and there's little white tulips all over the place. Oh, they're not tulips. They're toilet paper. I mean, it's pretty bad, because all of those people go down, use the bathroom. Oh, but there's not a bathroom there. So that's also a huge issue. You're creating parking and a reason for people to come. You already told us at the beginning that that path is why people come. Now they're coming and going down to the beach, and they have no facilities, and they don't realize they're camping, and it's pretty bad. So you're here because Carson City shares part of this corridor. So is there any way on the mouse you could show everybody out there where Carson City's lines are as far as the county designation, which I would guess would be right about Chimney and then right about Prairie Meadows? Would you? Yeah. So that's the piece of, and I'm just saying that for the general people that are here in the audience, and also the people that are out there listening, that's why they're here, is because this is our Carson City area. Now, those parking spots within the Carson City area, will they have a fee structure like down there at Tunnel Creek, or are they going to be open like they have been in the past?
No, the proposal is to also have demand-based fee structure. Exactly what that looks like has yet to be determined.
So that parking lot that they just expanded there at Chimney Beach on the east side of the road, that's going to have pay for parking there also?
Correct.
Oh, great. What about the one on the other side of the street?
Yes, eventually.
Okay. All right. Since that's in Carson City, is that a Carson City thing? Are we going to be taking care of this path, or is it on Forest Service land and the Forest Service taking care of that? How does that? I think that's another question that a lot of people will have.
So at this point, it is proposed that Washoe County would cover that as well, since they have.
Even in Carson City?
Correct.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
I thought you might like that.
That sounds, well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, everything's proposed at this point, but yeah, they are taking care of the O&M all the way up to their county line. So it's just going slightly over.
Okay.
So.
Now, I've seen the surveyors up there, and I understand that's probably what they're doing. Can you tell us, is that path, is the dream for that path, I know the design isn't completely, is that completely on the west side of 28, or is there some of that path that's going to come over onto the east side, similar to, with the tunnel there at Hidden? Is it all going to stay on the west side?
It's proposed to stay on the lake side throughout.
Okay.
Yeah.
When they get to when they get to Spooner Lot, will that be an intersection for them, or are they going to build another tunnel or a bridge? Because I know that path with the new construction at Spooner
Yeah.
has a path going there. How does that work to get them from one side of 28 to the other.
So there'll be a pedestrian crossing. That's what's proposed for those
Okay.
intersection improvements.
Okay. Well, great. Well, you guys, yeah, though I hear hear what you guys are saying, and it's
Yeah. Can,
it's just insanity up there. So
yeah, it's crazy. Could I address one question that you or brought forward?
Sure.
And that was the beach capacity. That was our very first thing was what is the beach capacity? So in the corridor management plan, we actually calculated the beaches, Whale Beach, Boat Beach, all of those beaches you're talking about. We actually calculated that. We even looked at the rocks that people go down to and stuff. We did it high water, low water, and medium, average high water mark, and looked at that beach capacity. So I want to assure you that even if we built these parking lots, we're not exceeding the capacity, and we're not building anywhere near the spaces, as was pointed out earlier. We just can't, there's not physical capacity to do that. And so I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that beach capacity was very sensitive, and so we did look at that as our number one thing. The restrooms down below are an issue all around the lake, and we've suggested that the Sustainable Recreation Group take a look at that, because we hear it all the time. We understand. We've got to sort of say, what is the transportation piece versus what is that recreational piece that's going on down below? So we get it. This will sort of reduce that congestion in that area, and hopefully they can tackle some of those shoreline issues that are going on. So they're good points. But
well, thank you. I appreciate you guys and what you're doing, and I guess I'm just a proponent for less parking spots and a lot of really, how you called it, if it says no parking, they're not
Hardening.
able to park.
hardening it.
And that hardening, thank you, that's the
Yeah.
word you used. Hardening that, and at the same time considering those people riding their bikes, because that's a huge thing up there, huge, that those guys are riding their bikes around the lake. And I just shake my head in July when I see those guys, I say, why are you doing this? This is insane.
One thing that we are finding is more and more events are actually wanting to ride on the path. They said, oh, no, we'll never do that. And they're actually wanting to ride on it. So we are trying to make it rideable.
Okay,
And a lot of the guys that you're seeing, like, as you well know, like to go early or real late.
yeah,
And they are riding the path. So if we can make the path rideable for them, it's a potential that they have an option to get off that highway and get to somewhere safe.
So I had just one more thing, and Greg brought it up to me, and I didn't know, because every time I saw somebody up there getting a ticket, I had a big smile on my face, which wasn't every day, because I understand the staffing for those tickets and having those people dedicated to writing tickets up there,
Yeah.
or yanking those cars. You can't yank them because now you back up all the way to Incline or all the way to the 50 just because you're trying to get them out of there. They're having a hard time recovering or recouping that money because they're just not paying those parking tickets? Is that,
Well,
because Jacob brought up how much money those is coming in, and I thought the same thing, because I talked to a trooper, and he said, yeah, we got with the 3 counties, and we got the judges to say, yeah, we're going to go to maximum fees or maximum penalties for parking up there, in no parking or wrong parking, over the fog line and so forth. And then Greg's let me know that they're not paying, so.
There is a propensity for non-compliance here in Carson and probably elsewhere. What we've done is gone to an automated system, and we're going to be meeting with some of the judges and more with the sheriff's department on what we're doing. We have 94% compliance in the parking areas.
Wow.
And on the fines that are issued if they don't pay if they're not paying. And we don't do, on the front end, we're not doing a huge amount. It ratchets up if they don't pay after 30 days. So we're saying, hey, we want to be nice, pay your fee. Maybe you had problems with it or whatever, but pay the fine, and then, but when it'll start going up once you didn't pay after 60 days and then 90 days. So we'll work with the sheriff's department and everybody else on what TTD is doing and the program we're using to do that. So there's a lot of nuances with parking fines that you don't have
Well, I
time
just,
for.
it really, when Greg told me that, it broke my heart because
Yeah.
every time I saw one of those tourists getting a parking ticket for a really bad park job,
Yep.
I was overjoyed, and he just took all the joy from me when he said that they don't even pay their tickets. So anyway, enough of that. So Dave, you had something else you wanted to talk about.
Thank you. Just a quick one. Just, could you speak briefly to the thinking about, for lack of a better term, the park and ride strategies, the transit plans? Are those fee structured? Are they, you pay for parking and you get to ride where you want to go? How's that working?
So we have a program now called East Shore Express, and it was put in place in 2012 to address Sand Harbor and really the queuing that would result in people waiting to get into Sand Harbor, and they would back up, traffic would back up into Incline Village. So that program has been incredibly successful. Most years we've had a park and ride lot in Incline Village. Unfortunately, that was not available to us last summer. But we typically have 2 buses that are doing a 20 to 30-minute loop. So we promote, we're in partnership with state parks, and we promote folks to go to the park and ride location, and then they board the bus for free. And what they can bring on the bus is limited, so sometimes that's a bit of a challenge. But I think our biggest year, or our year with the highest ridership, was 36,000, and that's about a 10-week season. So 36,000 passengers. And we typically operate 10 a.m. to 7 p.m.
How is that funded?
Partially from state parks, and then the rest of it is 5307 FTA, Federal Transit Administration funding.
So is this contracted or is it? No,
Direct
it's-
operations with Tahoe Transportation
Okay.
District.
All right.
The
Thank you.
first few years were were contracted, and we took over direct operations in 2016.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any more questions for the professionals down there? And
I got one.
one, is it going to be a short one? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
There will
Jacob.
be.
I understand.
You mentioned the parking at the small section of Carson City that has a bathroom on this. It has a parking lot, right? Skunk Harbor. But if Washoe
That's not Skunk, that's Chimney.
Chimney,
Yeah.
the new one.
No,
But if-
the old one on the west side of the store has a
Yeah.
bathroom. It's not
Secret.
always open, but that's a Forest Service bathroom, and that's usually only during the summer that's open.
Yeah. Okay, so it's Forest Service, so it wouldn't be Carson City losing the parking revenue for that since Washoe County's
Taken
maintaining
care
it?
of, yeah,
Okay.
Correct.
which is,
I just wanted to make sure we weren't losing the parking fees that Carson City should get, but it's not our lot, it's not our lot.
Yeah.
okay. So, any other things? So it looks like you guys need a motion. Is that correct? So I'm going to make a stab at it. It looks pretty much like what we have written down right here. So I'm going to make a motion to recommend to the Board of Supervisors to enter into a memo of understanding concerning the Tahoe Pass system between Tahoe Transportation District, Carson City, Douglas County, and Washoe County. And regarding State Route 28 Corridor Management Plan and Lake Tahoe Pass System, also known as the East Shore Trail.
I second.
Oh, wow. I was going to ask how I did. Thank you. I've suspected you. Thank you very much. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Well, thank you, ladies. And yeah, and Greg, if you ever need any passion on your committee, you just give me a call and I'll show up.
Thank you all.
So will Jacob. Thanks, guys, for coming. Okay, so Jennifer's going to talk to us now on 5B here. about the Lampa Park concept plan for the park that is going to come in with the subdivision over there at Lampa Ranch. And they're building that with the RTC funds. And you already have questions before you even started from the gentleman in the audience, so. Hopefully you'll get those answered.
Absolutely. I'm going to try to
Thank
talk
you.
and pull this up at the same time.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Jennifer Budge, Parks and Recreation Director. And we do have Steve Thompson from Ryder Homes here as well. And let's see if that works. Oh, wait, that's not working. I'll talk while it's trying to pull up. So on the, off of Fifth Street, we have the Lampa Ranch North Development. It's 251 acre property. The city has already entered into a development agreement. They've already started construction on a lot of different phases. There's 6 different developers working on that entire development. So a lot of players, a lot of developers working for that, for the community as part of their requirements in the special plan amendment. There was to be a 10-acre park on the west side of the freeway and a 3-acre park on the east side of the freeway. We're here tonight to talk specifically about the 10-acre park site and to just get some direction for the developers. There we go. On the potential concept of this park. This park staff has taken a look at this, provided comments, and they've made adjustments to the current draft that you have already. But we would like to get the public's feedback, your feedback and direction on just the draft concept and how we move forward so they can plan budgetarily how they're going to do that as they're going to build that out. The park does not have to be built or even really started until the 400th unit. So it's quite a ways away. It's not an immediate implementation, but the developer really would like some direction on the general concept of the park. I do want to talk about just the name in general, Lampa Ranch. It's a local family, someone that's, a family that's very important to the community. I would want to talk to the family to see if they'd even consider allowing us to use their family name in a park. So this is a draft name, a draft park concept. I don't want to get too far ahead of us, but I think that would be something very special to bring into this park is that local history. Some of our comments that we wanted included in this park was to have some interpretive panels and some information about that ranch land and that family to help educate the park users and keep that family history moving on as we move forward. But I want to clarify a few questions about the funding for the park before we even get into the design concept. I saw hundreds of comments on Carson Now. Why is the city building a park? Take the money and put it toward roads. So I just want to clarify, that's not quite how our funding works. Yes, different bucket of money, but also this park is not going to be funded by the city. It's going to be funded by the development and the people that live in that development. And that's part of the development agreement that the Board of Supervisors already entered into with the developers. So to clarify, over a year ago, we had the Landscape Maintenance District discussion here at the Parks and Recreation Commission. The Landscape Maintenance District in Lampa Ranch North is for stormwater facilities and drainage channels only. So just stormwater facilities. They're all built out already. Those just went to the city the last Board of Supervisors meeting. We had several board meetings to get the Landscape Maintenance District implemented. It does not include the park system. If something went wrong down the road, we could add other elements to the Landscape Maintenance District if we needed to, but it'd have to be over with board direction. So what's envisioned and in the development agreement is that the park would be funded by the developers. They get a credit from residential construction tax, which is in state statutes. So the park is built at the developer's expense, and then maintained through a homeowners association. This is not a new concept, and yes, it would be a public park. Collin Ranch in Reno, Saddlehorn in Reno, Galena Creek Estates, all very common, all in Washoe County. They're all funded by the homeowners association and public parks. They're neighborhood parks, not regional, nothing large where people are destination parks coming all over. Typically neighborhood parks, typically serving those surrounding neighborhoods. We just did this with Anderson Ranch as well. We brought Anderson Ranch before you. Now the homeowners association is taking care of the city's trailhead. City land, funded and maintained by the homeowners association. So it's really a public-private partnership. You have to look at it that way. And that's how this one would move forward. As far as what the cost would be for this and the homeowners, we haven't even dove into that. We don't even know what amenities exactly we're gonna have. This is just a very preliminary conversation to give some direction to the developers so they can move forward. If you're looking at like Schultz Ranch is a little bit different because Schultz Ranch, the city does contribute some funding, about $60,000 a year toward that landscape maintenance district. But the rest of the fees are through an assessment for the Schultz Ranch homeowners. And we have a schedule. It's not even fully built out yet as far as the payments for that one, to give you some comparisons. So this is a very common concept. It's consistent with Nevada revised statutes. There's nothing new about this concept. It's just newer in Carson City. It's sort of different than we've always done. But we cannot continue to add to our park system and not have a sustainable funding source to maintain it. And if we said no to everything moving forward, then we'd never have any new recreation opportunities. And we don't want that to happen either. So we have to kind of find that balance. And I think this is a good balance. And the board has already approved this arrangement. So the Board of Supervisors through the Planning Commission and all the appropriate documents and arrangements have already been made. So before we get into the park concept, do you have questions about the funding before we move forward?
Thank you, Chair, for the time. Director Budge, do you know how many HOAs we have in Carson City?
I do not.
I'm guessing it's fewer than Reno. That was, when I was looking to buy a house, it was like, I told our real estate agent, I don't want an HOA. And she goes, there's only like one.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think there's
yeah.
many. And then I just should have pointed out too that in the deed restrictions and in the conditions of approval for this development, should the homeowners association cease to exist, which we saw happen during the recession, Kylie Ranch and Sparks was famously one that went under. The city can, upon board action, implement an LMD as a backup plan for funding. So that way the park will always be maintained, but it'll always be funded by that development. So there's a process and that would require board action, but that's sort of a plan B. But plan A is HOA would maintain and the city would have an agreement with the homeowners association. It's already in their CCNRs, but it would talk about the standards of maintenance.
Yeah, I understand you can hear, but we can't hear her.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's agreed.
Okay, sorry. My fault. Okay, sorry. I apologize. Yeah. No, not at all. Yes, I know. Go ahead. Sure. So in the homeowners association CCNRs, the I can't remember what it calls. And anyway, it's their guiding document for the homeowners association. It says that they were required to maintain this park and they're also required to enter into an agreement with the city about the standards for the maintenance of that park. So we have one already for Anderson Ranch as an example. They have a homeowners association in there, so I can tell you there's at least one over there. And the city does have an agreement and we outlined what the criteria was for maintenance. And so it's up to the city to still monitor that and make sure that they're doing their part and taking care of everything. And so far that's going really well, but it's also very new.
I like the concept. I wish that I could get my neighbors together to help fund Riley Circle for a little park. Thank you.
Yep. Any other funding questions before we move on? Okay. I just wanted to clear that up before we moved on.
This funding, it's all approved. The owners, when they're purchasing those properties, understand that this is in their,
If they read the packet
Yeah,
that they
so-
purchased their home with, it should all be in there.
Yeah.
But it is part of the development agreement that's been approved since,
kind of a rhetorical
Yeah.
question, but I was just making sure that.
and I think a
stated
lot of
that.
people don't always read that, or they're confused by it, and maybe they don't ask the questions. And I'm sure when you're being sold a home, they're not going to get into all those details.
Okay.
But yeah, it
Well,
should
thank you very
be in
much
their
for-
documents.
For going over that.
And then I think maybe I should invite Steve Thompson up with Ryder. I don't know if he wants to walk us through the design or the concepts, or. Do you want to come up? Oh, no, okay.
He sees how tough we're being on you.
I am
and he's
now
like, "I
working
don't
for
wanna go
Ryder
out
Homes.
there."
No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, yeah, no problem. Steve's been a great partner, and he's been a real champion of the park and wanting to do the right thing. And this is kind of why we got here today, because they need to be able to move on. They want to have a good financial plan moving forward, and wanting to know what the community would like for this park. So you can see, all have a copy of the plan in your packets, and it was posted on the agenda. You have right here is a large turf area. This is a great opportunity. It's a multi-use area. It has shade trees surrounding it, so we'd have irrigation. Has a little internal path. The sidewalk system will connect to the regional trail system, which is great. We have a covered picnic pavilion, some parking. There's a small playground here. And then we created some pathways through the native vegetation, so we don't have a problem with social trails. This is to help mitigate that. There's also a landscape buffer along the pathway, along the sidewalk, to help create some shade and just, a better experience in that neighborhood. It's a pretty simple park design, nothing fancy, but I think with the multi-use turf areas, we have a lot of opportunities for partnership with the Youth Sports Association and some of the smaller leagues to be able to practice here, and be able to supplement, some of our field shortage that we have throughout the community. And we can work with the homeowners association in making that available, especially to younger users, which would really be helpful. And I think having that turf area and the picnic pavilion, people want to have birthday parties and things like that, it would be first come, first serve. And unless the homeowners association wanted to implement a fee structure to offset some costs. But I don't see that really happening. And then we have some interpretive panels are written in there, again, about the history of the Lampa Ranch. And I think it would be great to talk to the family too, to see if there's any structures we could bring over to the park, like over at Bartley Ranch Regional Park in Washoe County. So you have maybe some little historic outhouses or structures we could incorporate into the design. I think that would be a great opportunity. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. It's pretty simple park design.
So, I'll do the same thing, start down with Diane. Diane, do you have any questions for Jennifer about the process we're going through here?
The only thing I'd like to be involved in and very concerned, I know the Lampa family and what happened on dividing up that area for the homes. And I think it's a very good idea what you're talking about, getting the family involved. And there is a lot of history there. And Sam Lampa's not getting any younger, so might want to get on that. And I'd be happy to help you with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a few questions. So, when developing this, did Ryder Homes consult with the homeowners on the concept? Or did you all?
I don't think they did. They definitely consulted with our staff, but I wanted to make sure we were at a public setting so we could involve the general public. But I don't know if they surveyed anybody.
No. That would,
Say it.
yeah.
On? Okay. Steve Thompson with Ryder Homes.
Okay, so You know, I see the concern is if they're going to be, paying, the homeowners association is going to be paying for the maintenance of this. I do think that they should have a say on what is going there, because what is going to be, I'm all for soccer fields, don't get me wrong. We need more soccer fields in this community, I'm all for it. But I do think that yeah, okay, multi-use, exactly, Carson High School, multi-use. But I do think that if it is going, this concept versus another concept, versus the fee, I think the homeowners should have some say in it, whether, on how that's going to be done, because if we, approve something and then it goes back to them, are they going to be able to say, no, we don't want this fee is too high?
I appreciate that. It's sort of a chicken
Yes,
egg
exactly.
situation because the development is not built out. It talked about concepts in the special plan amendment about what kind of amenities, might be appropriate. We have the park and recreation master plan that talks about those needs. We looked at Mills Park being close by. We looked at on the east side is going to be a 3-acre dog park, so we didn't want to duplicate any efforts in that immediate vicinity to give them some direction. But there are not a lot of homeowners there to ask, but I do think that they could go back to the ones that are there, or at least to the property owners, and get some feedback. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I think depending on what you choose and what the concept is, you have to put the fee on what is it going to be. Is it cheaper to maintain pickleball courts? Is it cheaper to maintain, soccer fields? Is it cheaper to maintain a dog park? To that extent, I just think that it would be advantageous of us to ask.
Just real quick, so I can speak to that. I could probably take it to the HOA board, because we have an HOA there. And to kind of be clear, Ryder Homes is one of 6 developers in there, so we've only purchased and are building a portion of this, so there's lots of other developers involved. It's not just Ryder Homes. In fact, we're not fully responsible for the construction of this park. The actual master developer is. We're just one of the players in a kind of big moving picture out there. But I think taking it to the HOA would probably be a good step in that direction. We can notify, hey, we're going to look at the park concept. That's a pretty simple thing to do at our next meeting.
We can be there.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation on the conceptual plan. We walk to this area. My sister lives on the other side of the street here, so I would call this like our 3rd neighborhood park in the future, because Ronald D. Wilson is number 2, and then Riley Circle is number 1. Just thinking on things I've seen online, what I've heard from friends as we go to the parks, some things to consider: splash pads, a water feature of some sort, ample shade. I think one of the big concerns we hear about Centennial, well, really any park, is the lack of shade. So just making sure that I get ornamental trees, pretty, maybe a big shrub, something that will shade us while we're playing. I appreciate Commissioner Walt's love of a good soccer field. Knowing that we are just about to install some turf, and have fantastic facilities elsewhere, potentially reconsidering the soccer field area to have less grass, so you're not, using all of that water to water the lawns. Use it in the water feature. But maybe, when you go back to the HOA board, there are some other things they'd like to consider, like a community garden, or we have this great pollinator garden up by the hospital. There's just some really cool things to do. I'm going to throw out there a pump park for our bikes. That's been a request I've seen a lot on Instagram, frankly. So that's kind of what I've heard for Carson City requests.
Real quick. I know, I'm teasing. I like the shade, the additional shade, and the shade over the playground at Centennial is pretty nice. The walking path, I think, is a great idea. One thing I wish more paths had were like mileage markers, quarter mile or whatever. My wife ran Movers and Doers, and the walking program they did the participants felt really encouraged and motivated when they saw they walked X amount of miles in a whatever day or week or whatever. So that's really good. And kind of jumping back, you mentioned it with a bike path, pump track, but that young man who was on the news a couple months ago who made the RC track, I think there's a draw to that. Every time I go disc golf, I see RC airplanes and stuff, and I mean, how much room would it take for little RC cars? But just some of those ideas. But I like it.
Radio control.
I did, thank you. I think the difficulty in this conversation is it's community needs versus neighborhood needs, and this is a neighborhood park that community would have access to. So I think in terms, and I love all the ideas, but I think in terms of the HOA being responsible for the maintenance, the footprint of this park needs to be mindful of what a neighborhood would use. And that said, though, you know, I think the shade absolutely, you know, because neighborhoods have birthday parties, right? And kids get together and opportunities to, you know, use grassy areas and go on the walking paths and all of that. But I think it's important that we're mindful of that. If it were to become more of a community, then that's a different conversation in terms of you know, a splash pad or something, or then I think there's some funding conversations that we would need to have. And I just think it's important to acknowledge that.
I think just real quick, I think it's important to note that within the community itself, there's lots of pocket landscape areas. There's a bocce ball court. There's some other things that are kind of located within in the community already. This isn't the only open space park piece, so you don't want to have too many amenities here. It's like it spreads it out throughout the community is a little bit better way to do it. The apartment site has its own amenities, has a pool, dog park, splash park. It has, so those 360 tenants will have their own amenity package. So there's a lot of amenities spread out through this whole, you know, 251 acres. It's not just this one park piece.
That's great to hear,
Yeah.
so thank you.
I had a question as far, it's not necessarily the funding all, but just the equation. How does the equation work? Is it a per house that we get the RCT funding from? Is it a percentage from each sale, or how does that work?
Well, residential construction tax is paid when you pull a permit for a home, and it's new home construction or a new mobile home, and it's up to $1,000 per dwelling unit per permit.
Okay.
And it's a one-time fee when you build the home. So they'll get a residential tax credit, so they instead of paying that tax, they'll invest into building this park.
Got it.
Let me tell you, they'll pay way more money to build this park than they would paying that tax. So
Okay, you were
it's for a benefit of the public.
You were reading my mind.
Yep.
Because I was like,
And that's an
okay, so
NRS 278.
thank you
We
for
would love to
reciting
change
that.
it. There's a lobbyist up
So
there.
I remember when we didn't have a name for it, but when we were doing the Silver Oak Park over there, and we had a couple public meetings. They weren't necessarily Park and Rec Commission meetings, but Vern had a couple public meetings, and those neighbors showed up and said, hey, these are the things that we're interested in. And that's how we got the little skate park back there, the tennis court, the basketball court, all of those things. People were really excited to come to those meetings and bounce those ideas off of Vern and use flip charts and things like that. It was ultimately a charrette for the people that were already there. I believe the developer put that on to get those ideas so they could go back to the drawing board and give the people in the community some of the things that they wanted. And that's one of the most popular parks in Carson City is, I mean, gee whiz, that play structure is wonderful.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just me bringing back when we did the Silver Oak, when that was called the Silver Oak Park, and we were trying to figure out what we wanted in there. And it worked really well. And I think from the popularity of the park, it has worked and it did its job. So, and I'd like to say the interactive, those panels that you guys have on the path over there, it breaks my heart that all those, the land is, blah, 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 but they're wonderful. I love them. The pictures are great, the little cow looking at you and explaining the history of that park and the Anderson family. It's really neat, really neat. I like those, so keep it up with that. And we do have an HOA now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Is it a pretty active group? Do they have a board and all that?
There's not a lot of homeowners currently, so no.
Okay, okay.
I mean, but if we send notices to the current homeowners and get their feedback, and we disclose to all of our buyers that there will be a park, it's in their disclosure package, they're given plans, they're given CCNRs, they understand the funding source. It's all part of a disclosure package that they're given at the time they purchase their home.
Great, great. Yeah. And then the only thing, I saw the multi-use field there. It could be anything out there. Maybe soccer, maybe some lacrosse or whatever. But one of the things that I would suggest is that anytime we have something like that, that we have ample parking if that's what we're going to schedule it for. If we're going to schedule it for that kind of an event, weekend games or something like that, we definitely need the parking for that. So anyway, does anybody else have any comments on, here we go. Hi, Dave.
Thank you. Who is the master developer, and what's the planned build-out for the community?
The master developer currently is Blackstone, Josh Myers, who developed the land originally. Build out, I mean, we're one of, like I said, 6 different developers. AMH, American Homes for Rent, is in there now. They have 137 units. We have 189 plus 204 plus 360 apartments. I mean, it's probably 10 plus years to build out the Lomper Ranch community, I'd imagine, probably 10 years. I had to guess based on a current absorption and build out, it's gonna be 10 years plus. I mean, so this park, I think it has to be designed by the 400th permit, don't quote me on this, and built by the 750th unit. I think that's how it's written in the SPA, so it's a pretty far way out to having to construct this park.
And what's the current build?
The current homeowners,
Yeah.
77 and 50, there's currently 122 homeowners total in there, I believe. Yep, correct. Don't quote me on it, it's roughly that number, because we've closed 50, and I think Lennar has closed 77, I'll call it.
Okay, so with that, do we have anybody out there that's going to be part of the park that wants to talk about this? And we're going to require that that's a 3-minute, and then from there, we're going to move to unless it brings up something that we all want to chat about, we'll go from there. So is there any comment out there? Go, sir, come on up. I hope your questions were answered.
I couldn't hear a lot back there, so.
Yeah, I gave him my card and I can go over
Yeah.
his questions outside of the meeting.
I didn't sign anything.
No, sir, just your name.
Just my name on here?
No, you already did that, just your name when you start talking.
William Noble. And I don't know, I didn't catch everything. I'm still trying to figure out why the homeowners are paying for a public park, or paying for the maintenance, I'm sorry. Another question would be, does the maintenance include repairs? If the field gets messed up, do we pay for going in and fixing the field? Or as the parking lot needs to be repaved, are we doing that? What's the approximate cost of this? How much are we expecting the homeowner association to pay for the maintenance of this? I mean, I couldn't imagine a number. I talked to someone at Parks and Rec, and he said he couldn't guess at what it would be, ballpark or anything. So there's still a lot of unknowns. And true, I'm sure it's in there in all the paperwork that we had for buying the house. I went through a lot of that paperwork because my 99-year-old dad is actually buying the house. And so I went through it with him. I did not see this, but that's probably my mistake. I'm not sure it went. But you're right, it's legal, but that doesn't make it right. There's a lot of legal things that aren't right. So I still wonder why, and I don't know, I didn't understand some of the things you talked about when you were talking about homeowner associations paying for these other places and stuff and what the deal was. But I just don't understand why a public park is being paid for by the homeowners there. That's all I got.
All right, thank you,
Is
sir.
there anything else there? No? Thanks.
Yes, Danny.
Denny French, thank you. I am so sort of frustrated. This gentleman has asked a really simple question. And I think had Hope Sullivan been here, she would have said, well, it's a trade-off. Your developer wanted to build this many houses to make this much money. And to do that, it's a trade-off with the city to have the open spaces that are required with each property. And instead of having each property have a certain amount of space, which adds to the utilities and the infrastructure and all of that, they're going to be put them tighter, but they have to, in that respect, then make a space that would be equivalent to the land that they're missing in their yards as a park. It's a trade-off. But the only person who's really winning out of this is us, because we're going to get some very thoughtful neighbors and contributors to this community. So that's great. We're losing a huge area that was a still place and a landing place for an aquifer's fill and a filtering area. So the city is trading off with this developer so that they can build more economically and have more people live, and we need homes. We do. However, this trade-off is really on the backs of those homeowners, instead of maybe being spread through the community, because we're not the ones buying this primo land that the developer has set up. The developer set up this situation. So this park that they're being left with is not their own yard. It's going to be open to the public. They may have little stretches of green between their homes, but it's a consolidation situation that's really meant to make money. And I find it very frustrating that it's going to have a plaque that might say Lampa on it. It will not show or even have the essence of it. I lived in areas they named streets after things that weren't even there anymore. Oak Grove, no oaks anymore. They built everything over it. Several other places had trees as their names, or a spring as a name, or a wetland as a name. It's no longer there. At least here, they're trying to keep a bit of both of those concepts. There's open space in the park, and there's probably some wetland there, and those things are really precious that we're losing because of that development. But we're going to keep going. We have to develop. But in this case, I think it would be helpful if someone would turn him on to maybe individuals or people listening, to Hope. She can explain the trade-offs. And if you don't like what your developer is doing, maybe you shouldn't have bought there. And I'm sorry, but you know, I was very fortunate. I have a yard I can do what I want with. I have to have a certain amount of open space, but it's mine. And so I have sympathy, but I'm going, somebody didn't clue people in, and that's a shame. And you could be doing that now, but you haven't. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. Okay, I don't see anybody else that wants to talk out there. Do I see somebody that wants to tackle a motion for this going for? I'm sorry, Jen.
Oh, sorry. Jennifer Budge, Parks and Recreation Director. I just wanted to mention, I've written all your comments down. I can type all this up. I can provide it to Steve Thompson, and I'd be happy to go, you know, to the Homeowners Association meeting as well and meet with them, and then just, you know, at least pass on your feedback that you've provided.
Thank you for that, Jen. Yes, Leah.
Would it be appropriate to just table the approval of the concept plan until the homeowners board has received this feedback and had a chance to discuss? It sounds like this is a ways out, like 2 to 5 years. Would that be accurate?
It is. There's key points in the development process that we need to get to, and the big thing for the developers is they need to be able to budget and plan for the park. So you kind of need to know what amenities you're going to have, because the cost of maintaining like a turf area versus a splash park is a big difference. I would argue a splash park is great. We have one planned at Mills Park, which is down the street from here, so that might be duplicative. So I think we can work with the homeowners association, maybe in revising this comment or concept, and maybe bring it back to you.
That's fine.
Yeah, I would, as Commissioner Schutte said, just get their input, make sure that this is either as presented or with some feedback from them, what they'd like to see. And if we can approve that at maybe our next meeting or the following one, I'm not sure when the board gets together, but give them enough time and we can approve it at the following meeting. Would that be acceptable?
So what I'm hearing is that we want to table this and move it down the road a little bit into 25 and bring it back to us and go from there?
And we'll give you a revised comment or concept based on the homeowners' feedback, and we'll pass on all these comments to them as well.
Okay, so how does everybody feel up here? How does everybody feel about that idea? Feels good? Okay. Well, then I don't need a motion. And what we're going to do is we're going to send it over to Duncan Golf Management, and they're going to come up here and tell us what a wonderful year they had last year and how excited they are to be here.
But thank you for this great
And yeah.
concept, and I'm eager
Yeah, and
to-
thank you for
yeah.
being here.
Yes,
I didn't mean to be short-sighted. Thanks for keeping track of me.
you're welcome.
Anytime I need a slap in the head, just let me know. Welcome.
I know.
That sounds so much the one-click wonder, is it?
I know, it's not. It's supposed to be. There we go, it's thinking. Oh, there we go. No, we're just trying to pull this up. Okay.
The advance is just scroll down.
Yeah, I think you'll have to, because I think he just provided me a PDF. It wasn't a PowerPoint.
My wife's talked to probably,
No, I'm good.
You're good.
it's disclosures. We like the idea.
Are we ready to go? I think we're ready to go. All right, Scott Wachowski, Duncan Golf Management. And as you said, yeah, this is becoming an easier and easier presentation as each year goes by. We've been here at Eagle Valley for 7 years now. And at the original conception of the agreement was to establish, maintain, and have a sustainable business. So again, it's going to be a little bit of a recurring theme from 2023 to 2024. We've had another great year. The most obvious is how we started the year was quite different. 2023, we were under snow and had no rounds of golf essentially for the first quarter. In 2024, wasn't the case. We started the year with some great weather and had 5,000 more rounds of golf in the first quarter than we did in 2023. In the fall of 23, really set up a fantastic agronomic year in 2024. So the golf course came out after the winter in very good condition, which was contrast to the previous year. So had a great year and got back on track with capital projects. I think when I did this presentation last year, 2023, we kind of put the capital projects on hold because we're so far behind to start the year. So got back on track, and we'll kind of talk about that through this brief presentation. So 2024 review, like I just said, we did 5,000 more rounds in the first quarter. It was a great jump start in comparison to 23. We had excellent fall and winter conditions. We had very timely moisture, not long periods of snow, which really benefited the golf course agronomically, and we were off and running. Had our highest returning staff. We had the highest returning staff in 23, even more in 24, so our retention's been fantastic, and it's starting to really show as we go through each year. I put on here, Eagle Valley is a sustainable and thriving business. As we'll go through some of the numbers here, you'll kind of see some of the consistencies that we're now seeing year over year. We're projected to have, we hit a little bit of weather in November, which when we're putting this presentation together in October, projected to hit the highest rounds in our tenure. Still think that's possible. December so far has been pretty dry, so we got a good chance of hitting that. And then we got back on track with capital improvements in 2024, and it was a big impact for the folks that came out and enjoyed the golf course. For the golf review, we moved our golf shop downstairs. If you know the building very well, there used to be a banquet area downstairs from where our current food and beverage is. We made that the golf shop. It picked up a little bit of square footage and a lot better flow through the clubhouse. Ended up improving our merchandise sales by almost 25,000, and could be even higher than that once we get finished the year. So it was great. Like I said, we're hosting the most rounds of golf, which you can imagine that would lead to the highest grossing rounds of greens fees. So we're super excited about it. All of our key staff from 23 was back in 24. 2 years with that has made us very operationally strong in all of 24. Put this slide in here, and so our historical rounds, I think we're going to be pretty close to this number. We'll see how December finishes. But if you look over the last 5 years, 2020 obviously being closed for 23 days, we've really maintained a very healthy round count at Eagle Valley from what it was doing in the years past. So it's become very sustainable. We're in the north of 55,000 rounds, close to 60,000 rounds a year, and those numbers create a very strong revenue stream. The driving range revenue, you can kind of see the same thing. When we first got up there our first year, we've almost doubled that revenue on the range. I'll talk about a little bit of the capital projects we did there that kind of contributed to that. But that is a really healthy driving range and experience there. So we're super excited about that. We've kind of leveled off a little bit in 24. July was extremely hot, if you all remember. Started kind of in June, so being out there in a wide open range doesn't lead to a lot of people out there hitting extra range balls. 50 Mile Club was a program that was there before we were there. We added some benefits over the years. So it kind of plateaued at about just over 2,000. We heard some things from the 50 Mile Club over this year. So new in 2025, we added some twilight rounds to the 50 Mile Club, as well as rounds of golf at a 33% discount at Winchester Country Club over the hill. We believe this is the best value, probably not only in Northern Nevada, but probably the country for what you get for $75 when you join the 50 Mile Club. It's very popular. We promote it during this time of year. It's a good holiday gift and a stocking stuffer. So we look forward to what these additions are going to do in 2025, but very successful again in 24. Frisky Fridays, talked about this a little bit last year, really has become a hot spot. People are really anxious for it to get started in the year. It's a 9-hole shotgun that happens at 5:30 p.m., so we can't do it all year long, obviously, because of daylight. But people look forward to it. It's a fun event, and we average about 60 players a week. We actually got over 100 people. We had to open both nines a couple weeks, so it's super successful, and people come out and have a good time. It's more than just golf. It's a fun time where they play a little bit of golf. 4th of July, we had 4th of July out there this year. We have a meeting on Friday to discuss 2025. We feel like it was wildly successful in our first year. We're super excited to be the venue of the fireworks at Eagle Valley, and we're going to continue that in 25. The permit just got done, and we're going to talk about what we're going to add and improve that event in 25. So super excited to launch that in 24.
Can I interrupt for just 1 second? Commissioner Cartwright, over here, your computer is about to die. The battery blinking light is down in the right corner of the screen. So your presentation is going to shut off if you don't plug that in, if we don't. I just wanted to let you know in case it surprised you.
I was trying to go fast. Yeah.
I think it's good.
That a girl? All right. We are live. We are live. New in 2025, we met with Dave and Jennifer late this fall talked about numerous things. One of the things we talked about was junior golf, growing the game of golf. We've done this in Reno. Actually, TJ Junkin's idea a couple years ago. We found major success. We're super happy. One, you are the first ones to hear about it outside of the meeting we had earlier this fall. We're going to start a free junior golf membership for juniors under 17 years old. And it doesn't come without certain stipulations. It's not just free golf for those juniors. We are actually going to mandate that they play at least 10 nine-hole rounds of golf during the summer to keep their membership for next year. We want to grow the game of golf. We want them out there with mom and dad. We do have rules in there. Under 12, mom and dad have to be out there or a guardian. It's a great program. We can kind of go through all the details there, but it's been super successful up in Reno. We think it's going to be really successful down here. Has a really strong play with high school golf. They'll be able to get their practice in during the summer after 1 p.m. for no charge. And it's a true growth mechanism to youth golf. So we're super excited to launch that at Eagle Valley in 2025. Capital improvements. So we'll go through the capital improvements a little bit here. Carson City was responsible for the cart path. We did about 2,700 linear feet out there this year. Our two biggest complaints on the golf course are cart paths and bunkers. So we have had a very strategic plan to address both of those. Obviously, we can't do everything one year after another, but we've done quite a bit out there, and it's been good. We did some drainage work on number 8 on the west course, as well as number 18. That's been a nuisance over the last several years. That's been a huge improvement. We did 10 new bunkers on the west course, which puts us about almost 55% complete of the bunker project. So hopefully over the next 2 years, we get that all completed, and then we'll start on the east course. We did a new chipping tee right outside the clubhouse, and then the driving range, we bought all new bag stands. I'll go to that picture real quick. Bag stands, replaced 12,000 range balls, put a clock, yardage post, and it is just a whole new sharp image out there. The curb appeal has been really, really nice. We bought a new range machine 1 or 2 years ago. The building was starting to fail, so we put a new structure around that. So the whole presentation at the driving range, when you pull up the Eagle Valley, is quite impressive. And it's done fantastic. One of my pet peeves at Eagle Valley was our sign up front that was had a big sun stain for a long time. We finally got that done this year, so it looks fantastic. That's just a picture. The other thing on the right there is our drainage on 18. The updated cart paths. Dave, I'm not sure if you want to share anything else on that at all, or we'll have some more planned in next year, but every time we do a cart path, we hear nothing but praise in the golf shop. So it's been a great partnership. Just a couple pictures of our bunker improvements. This always gets a lot of wow factor from the golfers. Their ball hits in there. We don't have drainage in a lot of them other than the ones we've already renovated. So there are times in the heavy irrigation season and then in the winter rainfall, the bunkers don't drain, so you can hit your ball in there and lose your ball in a bunker. So when they see us doing this, it's a big deal to the golfers. A couple of the things that the city took care of that the golfer really doesn't care about, but are very important to the overall structure and infrastructure of the clubhouse, and was some asbestos removal in the ceiling. There's a new sprinkler system put out through the building. We have new stairs on both sides of the building coming into the clubhouse. And then we had some mediation downstairs that's still ongoing. The capital equipment. So the rent for the golf course, obviously we talked about this a little bit, was for us to maintain $90,000 a year worth in equipment. That was over in 323. The equipment still has been slow coming in. We have about $800,000 at the end of 2023. In 2024, we brought in some special equipment. During the first package, when we took over at Eagle Valley, there was barely machinery to mow the golf course. There was barely machinery to move the workers around the golf course. So our first package in 2023 was really the basic essentials: greens mowers, tee mowers, rough mowers, people movers. This next package, we've concentrated on a little bit of specialty products. We got a couple sweepers to help us aerify fairways to improve their condition. Our agronomic practice will increase out there. We bought a roller. I'll kind of talk about that in a little bit. that really helped out with our greens, especially on the west course. Then we had to start replacing some turf mowing equipment that had been purchased 5 years ago. So we bought a couple large rough units to help, which that's one of our other complaints is that the rough grows very fast in the summer months. So we brought on 2 more large units to accommodate that. In the next couple weeks here, we'll be having some pump station improvements coming on the east course. The VFD drive and the PLC just helps monitor the pressure throughout the summer. Improved golf course conditions. We're really proud of this one. We, each and every year, have had some sort of issue, whether it was a hard winter, pump station, delivery. The golf course was phenomenal, and probably of our entire portfolio, the best golf course conditioned of all of our products all summer long. Everyone, if you guys have grass in your yard at home, everyone had a little decline in July. It was a very hot month for a long period of time. But this golf course in particular, both golf courses, east and west, really did not have that decline that other area golf courses as well as homeowners suffered. And it was a pretty fantastic year out there. A couple things that contributed to that is we had a great fall in 2023. Weather-wise, condition-wise, that led it into starting off the year very strong. And the stronger you start, the stronger you can handle the summer stress. So it was fantastic. We got over 200 new sprinklers for the East course, 53 new sprinklers in the West, got some new valves. We purchased 25 Rainbird clocks. Hidden Valley Country Club in Reno went through a massive renovation, and they replaced their entire irrigation. We have a nice relationship with them. We were able to purchase all their old clocks, which are really perfect for Eagle Valley West. It was the same operating system that they do make, but it's hard to get parts. So we were able to get those. We installed 6 of them this last year, have 19 in storage, so we shouldn't have any hiccups. Did a little math here, and since our inception, we have put in almost $250,000 in operational expenses and capital in pump station and irrigation since 2017. That's a pretty phenomenal number when you look at golf course maintenance expenditures, and it's really starting to show. When we first got out there, a short 7 years ago, we had an irrigation system that was really inoperable. And the first couple of seasons, we just had to kind of keep going and make improvements slowly as we went through, and it's really starting to show. We kind of kicked this around our internal team. They said, why are you putting this slide in there twice? I said, I just want to really make sure everyone understands the golf course was in really good shape this year.
Woke us up.
We had a little bit of an invasive weed that snuck into the putting surfaces over the last couple of years. We got pretty aggressive with it this year, mostly culturally, and we had 100% removal of that weed on our putting surfaces. The addition of a turf roller helped with those surfaces, especially on the west course. And then the biggest thing that we had this year that we haven't had happen yet is we had not one single night of nightly irrigation interrupted. I just want to say that again. That is really uncommon for Eagle Valley. We will typically have, a shortage issue with the lakes not being full, a main line break, a pump station failure. With all the capital improvements we put into the irrigation over the last 7 years, and I don't know if there's another golf course that can really say that in our area, including our portfolio, that we didn't have one failure for the entire season in 2024. So it's a huge accomplishment.
I'm with you on that very nervous part. Perfect.
Food and beverage had another pretty strong year. We started using the outdoor pavilion a little bit more, a lot of requests to do that. Having some returning staff made that a little easier. So that was really good. We transitioned the front golf shop into a private dining room. Small golf groups absolutely loved it, so that was a big success for food and beverage. And then we had a lot of good flow from the golf shop to food and beverage. Before, you could come in and get out of the golf shop, go to your cart before you ever enter food and beverage. And now, the way that the clubhouse is working, you really have to flow through the restaurant to get to the golf shop, to get to your golf cart. So it's really improved our revenues and having everybody there. And then, like I said, we hosted the 4th of July out there, and I think we did a pretty good job for you guys out there, so it was really fun. Food and beverage revenues, we just compared January to September, we're doing better, and each year we're getting closer and closer. We actually operate the food and beverage at a slight loss each year. This year, we could potentially break even in food and beverage, which is a huge accomplishment for us. We use food and beverage to facilitate golf there. It's purposeful. We like to keep our prices very affordable. We want people hanging out after their round of golf and not going and leaving there, so they enjoy the long-term experience at Eagle Valley. And we're getting closer and closer to that break-even mark, so it's pretty exciting. Marketing and golf promotion review, not a lot different here. Bless you. We've done kind of the same thing. We started a bit of a skins game on Saturday, started to catch some traction at the end of the year. We'll continue it next year, but not a lot different there. We just feel like what we're doing is working, so we'll continue the same thing for 25. One thing we did this year, we've talked about it for the last couple of years, we finally got a Chamber of Commerce event just this past October. I think it's on the books, don't quote me on that, but for the spring, where we want to try to tie in some golf. We got to raise almost $600 for the Humane Society, had over 30 people there, so it was wildly successful, and hope to continue to be a part of that. Financials, the big take home on this slide is that back when we first started, I think our original projections during the RFP was somewhere around 1.4 million, 1.3 million. In a short period of time, 7 years, we've grown the revenues by almost $1 million, which is really phenomenal for Eagle Valley, and we're projected to hit that number again this year. We're super proud of that. We've been able to put, through the design of the contract, capital dollars back in, so we're doing good. In conclusion, the overall goal was to have a collective partnership with Carson City and Duncan Golf Management to have a sustainable property in Eagle Valley. When we got there, the property was failing and potentially was going to close and not be available to the citizens of Carson. So we're super excited to have a thriving business there. Having returning staff season after season and all of our key staff is a huge accomplishment, I think. And we're the owners, we're the managers. I only get down there 1 day a week. I make sure I want to say this. The staff that's at Eagle Valley right now, all the credit to them. They've done a great job for you all, and we're super proud of them. And then lastly, we had our strongest agronomic year. I guess you guys got that point already. So that's the presentation in a nutshell. So thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott.
Something good to
Do we have any questions for Scott before we let him off the hook? Diane? No? Dave?
Just, could you describe the staff a little bit? How many people are in your key staff and so
Well, our
forth?
key staff really comes down to 4 or 5 key people, and then their underlings that report up to them. So we probably had a staff of 35. We probably had 28 returners. Yeah, it's fantastic. A lot of it in the maintenance area, which is key there. Our superintendent has a long tenure in the turf industry, and he's been there for 2 straight seasons, which was a big piece. Our chef's been there for 2 straight years. Our director of golf is going on his 3rd year. He's done a fantastic job building his team, so it's been pretty fantastic.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
very
And a
impressive.
lot of that staff is seasonal too, so when they come back, it's even, yeah, it's fantastic. Very lucky.
Just a thank you. Hi.
Hi.
No, thank you for doing the 4th of July. As many of you know, or many of you don't know, we surveyed the entire city to find a staging site for the 4th of July fireworks. And we were down to our last option, which was Eagle Valley Golf Course. So without Eagle Valley Golf Course, I'm not quite sure where the community would have a fireworks show. So I thank you for that, because this is it. Yes, we did put in our permit on August 1st, and it was just granted to us 2 weeks ago. So I'm excited to meet with you on Friday to see how we can grow you know, because it is a fundraiser for RSVP, Nevada Rural County's RSVP program. The event is, not the fireworks show, but the event is, and I look forward to that. So I thank you for your partnership with that. It was successful. It was a lot of fun. Everybody that attended, anybody who watched it, you know, up in the upper parking lot, the lower parking lot. I know the city had a meeting. I wasn't in that meeting, but I didn't hear that there were any issues. No, I didn't hear, David. I don't think there were any issues. You know, parking, we'll work on it. I think we'll have a few more parking attendants out
We
there.
learned something this year.
Yes, we did. But yes, I was down there with my flags, you know, trying to do some parking at the very end to get it to flow, but I appreciate that. You know, the one thing that also I don't know that you highlighted enough, and I didn't realize this, so we're not just a soccer family, we are a golf family as well. My husband coaches high school golf and my son plays. But we didn't realize that Eagle Valley hosts surrounding high schools. You're like the golf, because, I mean, obviously we all know high schools don't have golf courses, right? You may have basketball court, you know, a multi-purpose, but you don't have a golf course. And so the high schools have to seek golf courses to go and practice. And I had no idea that our surrounding counties, high schools, can't do that in their own counties, that they come where? To Eagle Valley Golf Course. And so I believe you have Dayton. I believe you have a few Reno
I
schools.
think we have the most high schools of any other golf company in our area.
Right.
And Eagle Valley is the largest hoster.
And
How many schools we have, T?
12 schools
Yeah.
practice there. That practice there, to my understanding, at no cost.
No cost.
Yeah, that is something I think that is just something that should be, yes, very much so. Unfortunately, it did kind of push Carson High to a different golf course, but, you know, to practice at within. But I mean, I think that's something that you really should. I did not know until my husband started coaching. And so, but that is commendable, and I thank you for that as a school board member. I think it's important that we highlight that.
Appreciate that.
Because without Eagle Valley, I'm not quite sure where these schools would go for practice.
Thank you for letting us give them the opportunity to do it.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say I look forward to this presentation every year. It's like a little pre-Christmas present. Thank you. Just fantastic, and even more fantastic now. Love it.
Speaking of Christmas presents, I hope my wife's not listening because I want to get her that pass. And I'm looking for, I'm not a golfer, I play disc golf, but when we had our spring fling, Eagle Valley donated a few rounds of golf, and those were like some of the first prizes claimed. So they were
Awesome.
really excited, and I appreciate that.
Very welcome.
And I look forward to getting my 6-year-old nephew out for the junior.
Awesome.
It sounds like a lot of exciting stuff. I'm not even a golfer, so I'll get into it. Yep.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. You have so much energy, and yeah, I like it too. So thanks for coming in. And I'd like to say the swimming pool does a pretty good job here in Carson City of hosting a lot of the regional areas. So to reiterate again, we live in a wonderful place, you guys. We have great facilities and great golf courses, great swimming pools, great trails. We live in a great partnership. So all the work that we have done in the past and are doing now is representative of that. So thanks for doing what you do. With that, I think you're released unless anybody else has anything. Thanks again. Great presentation. Jen?
Can I just say one thing?
Of course.
Jennifer Budge, Parks and Rec Director. I just want to thank TJ and Scott. Their partnership is just so appreciated. We could not do this without them, and I think it's a really unique public-private partnership that we have. We're able to keep the cost down for the public. We're able to provide new opportunities for youth. I think it's a really great thing for the community. So thanks for all that you guys do.
Yeah, thank you guys. Happy holidays, everybody.
Okay, so moving down the agenda, what we got next is for possible action, we're discussing Parks and Recreation Commission meeting schedule for the calendar year 25. Jennifer has that with her, so I'm going to pass it on down to Jen.
Just to keep it short, you have a draft schedule for your consideration in your packet.
Does anybody have any comments on the draft schedule for 2025? No, I looked at it over there. Oh, Leah does.
Just a quick note that there's a legislative session, February through June, so I'll be running in with my hair on fire.
We run in. We don't mind at all. So, all right, so do I have a motion to accept that?
Sure. I move to approve the Parks and Rec Commission meeting schedule for calendar year 2025 as presented.
About a second.
Second.
Great. So everybody in favor of that schedule?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on. So we have a staff update from the director. So Jen, that's back to you.
Just real quick, Jennifer Budge, Parks and Recreation Director. Our winter activity guide is out, so if you go to carson.org/parks and rec, you can pull up all of the great activities that we have over the next few months. Some programs are already full, like our ski program, super popular, filled up in less than a week. So, but thanks to all the staff that are working so hard on that. And then I just wanted to thank Nick Wentworth, Greg Bergeron, and Lindsay Boyer especially for all their hard work. And we received a $14.9 million grant for Mills Park from the Southern Nevada Public Lands Management Act. It's really not a grant, it's an award program, and it's from BLM Land Sales in Southern Nevada that fund parks, trails, and nature areas throughout the state. And we were one of the top scoring applications, so it's pretty tremendous. But just to give you a couple highlights, we'll get a new basketball court, we'll double the skate park size, we'll have an off-leash dog park area with small and large dog components, a fitness loop with exercise station. We hope to have the largest playground in the city built as part of this project, a splash park as well, and a concession plaza. So it's pretty exciting. And just thanks to those three staff for really making that grant happen. I was joking with our open space manager that her legacy is going to be a park, but that's okay. It's going to be a real benefit for generations to come. That's it.
So I'm going to go to Molly. Do we have any update from the school board?
We do, actually. So as many of you know, the Empire Elementary School land, lot agreement, not much has happened. But I drive out there ever so often. I get a little nervous. But just to give you an update is Loomis is working on the survey. It should be done sometime this month, and they will be handling the rest of the lot line adjustment work thereafter. And so we're hoping to get that done sometime this month so we can move forward with getting the fencing. Okay? With the
appropriate signs.
What's that?
With the appropriate signs.
Yep. Yep. And we do, with the talk that has happened, we are getting some donations, so for some field equipment, which is exciting as well. So I'm excited for that to move forward. I did bring up at a meeting, the Mills Park plan. And yes, it is something that was asked if the Board of Supervisors could please include the school district when it comes to that through street. Right now, as we all know, trying to get in and out of Carson High School in the morning or after school is at least 20 to 30 minutes. It is a congested mess. And to, the possibility of that through street, going through Mills Park, it could just maybe add. And so if the Parks and Rec and Board of Supervisors would please include the school district operations and the superintendent, that would be greatly appreciated.
Great, thank you for that report. So do we have somebody out there for a foundation for Carson City Parks and Recreation to give us a report? Looks like Jennifer has that information, so go ahead, Jen.
Jennifer Budge, Parks and Recreation Director. Your late material was a written report from the Parks Foundation. If they can't be available, they're going to provide a written report to you, so that way you can be updated on all the things that they're doing. I do want to just plug membership for their foundation. If you go to carsoncityparks.org, you can join for $25. They have all their park updates. You can now pay online for membership. They're really kind of upping their game a little bit, which is wonderful. I encourage and challenge everybody on this board to become a member. I know a couple of you are, but not everybody. It would be great if we had 100% of this group to be members of the foundation. Same to Open Space and the Cultural Commission. I'm going to plug that as well. But I am a member. I do pay, my own dues for that, and I think it's really beneficial. They're doing a lot of great park projects, and they just recently voted on some grant guidelines, so we're going to be able to apply for grants that are only eligible for nonprofit applicants through the Parks Foundation. I'm really excited about that funding opportunity, especially for our recreation programs, adaptive, and volunteer programs. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities to apply for things. So thanks to the Parks Foundation for their support.
Of course you can.
Do you mind sending an email with all that information, the link? And I apologize, but it's just easier if you send it and I can click it. And on the part of the nonprofit, just so all of you know, a lot of these grants will ask if it's 100% board giving. And if you are 100% board giving, you're kind of boosted up a little bit on the grant application process if you can say that you're 100% board giving.
I'll email that out to everybody.
Thanks for that discussion there. So the next item we have is, well, actually, I'm going to go with any announcements from the members, and then we'll go to, and within those, if anybody wants to throw in any future agenda items that they might want to hear. Diane?
Sorry, you should start on that end, then I
Oh,
have
yes,
more time
ma'am.
to think.
I'm going to change
other than
my
right now.
routine, and I'm going to turn over here, and I'm going to say, do you have any announcements or future agenda items that you'd like to talk about, Jacob?
Not at this moment.
Okay. Do I have to come back to you?
No.
Okay, good. Leah?
Future agenda item, any updates from the legislature for parks, open space bills would be helpful. And I don't know what specifically to ask for here, but just at the pool, I've seen a lot of slip and falls, like I know we put up signs and stuff, but I'm wondering if there are any plans for pool safety. I just worry. I've seen so many kids bonk their noggins, and I don't know what to do. So if we could work on something at the pool, I'll talk to the legislature. We'd be like, send some of that 7% increase in our state revenue to our pool, but we got to do something. It's slippery and dangerous.
Thank you.
Lisa?
Saturday is Pictures with Santa at Benson's Feed. And it's people bring their pets. We have dogs, cats. Last year we had a duck. Sally the burro arrives every year. We've had Gerald the guinea pig. We've had pigs. We've had goats. It is a delightful day. A huge shout out to Benson's Feed. They team with Carson Animal Services Initiative for just a silly, fun holiday giggle fest. So anyway, just putting that out there.
Molly?
I encourage you to, if you haven't liked Carson City School District Facebook page or Instagram, I encourage you to do so. Every school is having multiple holiday events that I think it would be great if the community outside of the parents could attend and support our schools. That would be great, but please like or follow their Facebook and Instagram, and all the information is there. The school, I do have to give a shout out. The school district is doing a phenomenal job when it comes to getting information out to the community through social media.
Thank you. No, I'm sorry. No, well, I'm pleased. Go, yes, Lisa.
I also wanted to give a shout out to Parks and Rec staff and the pool staff for the September pooch plunge. That was incredible. Yeah, I saw Danny there, and we had 153 dogs visit the pool that day, and staff was amazing. They're always so helpful. So a huge, huge shout out and thank you.
I'm glad that's still going. I remember when Mrs. Sproul and I put that together many years ago. That's great that it's still going that strong. So, Dave.
Thank you. Just like to kind of emphasize what Jen was talking about for the foundation. They've been very good to the pickleball people and helping us keep track of our funds and stuff and supporting our fundraising efforts. So appreciate them, and Juan and I are family members, but I'm hoping that I looked through the membership roster and it's pretty skinny. So I'm hoping that you'll take her up on her offer to look into membership, members of the public as well. It's a great organization that does a lot of good for our community and is not generally recognized. So I'd like to recognize them. Also, like to shout out for Dan Arp and Scott Chapman and the Taylors and the wonderful staff at the MAC for helping us with our successful fall Dinks and Drinks pickleball tournament. That was, we had a pretty good turnout for that, and we've already planned the spring one for the 5th and 6th of April, so get your paddles out and get practicing, get a partner. Sign up for that. We'll open registration on February 1st. It's already posted on pickleballbrackets.com. Just search for Carson City and you'll find the tournament. And last but not least, I'd like to thank Director Budge and Nick Wentworth for their hard work on the new pickleball courts for Mills Park. We're going to have 6 really, really nice pickleball courts, hopefully by summer. And we're very excited about that. And I think the public is going to really appreciate the quality of those, both the design and I'm sure the construction is going to be excellent. So we're very, very excited about that. Thank you.
I want to ditto with Dave on just what is that board? That I was on that board at the foundation, and we've met with them briefly about, I guess you couldn't say there's a Carson Tennis Club, but the tennis group is going to try to get some grants to put a backboard out there at Centennial Park when or after the new courts are built, and hopefully that's at the same time as these pickleball courts which are great. But off the parks subject, just there's a great fundraiser this Friday at Carson Mall for Empty Bowls. It's Fish's biggest fundraiser, and it really is a nice time, and the place will be packed, so you can buy tickets online or right there that night, 4 o'clock.
Thank you. So I wanted to say, my wife and I came to the Nutcracker on Friday night. It was absolutely fantastic. I mean, we like just another feather in our cap. Are you kidding me? We live here, you guys. So we're very lucky. It was a fantastic presentation, and it just, yeah, it just keeps, this place is just wonderful. So anyway, we had a great time there. And then the only other thing is, I know budget is coming up, so I don't know, will that be presented at our first meeting, Jan, or our second meeting next
So
week?
that'll be at our February meeting.
February
So if
meeting.
there's things you're thinking about that you'd like us to take a look at, potential costs or to incorporate into the budget, let me know between now and then, and we can try to, value those things out and see where we might be able to fit things in.
Yeah, and that also goes out for those people out there, you know, they're
Absolutely.
hopefully listening to us at home and all. And you know which one I'm going to say. I want to make sure we can possibly get some 18 funds to that north corridor and clean that up and all. I know it's a process, but I'm going to keep saying something
And I
about
did
it.
pass your comments on to the transportation manager. I don't know that next budget year will be the time for it, but probably the one
All
after.
right, well,
but we'll keep plugging away
I'm going
on
to
it.
keep plugging away because we can make that beautiful down there. So,
Absolutely.
all right. So with that, looks like we've come up here to an end, but we're going to give anybody out there in the public another 3-minute stint to make any kind of public announcement that they want. So come on up, Denny.
Denny French, thank you very much. It's been a long night for me, but it has been joyful in the fact that you're all happy. I wish that I didn't have to be the wet blanket in some of these situations, but you've covered a lot of things that you've all enjoyed. I think some of the things that have been missed tonight are things like Ronald Williams Park and the fact that you got a great playground out there finally, and that was wonderful. That was a good deal. And I appreciate that, and I'm sure that the residents around there did too. Children love playing on it. The restroom is an issue. And hopefully that's going to be resolved and really faced. We're doing a lot of improvements in areas, which is just really great. I appreciate that. I'm more of an open space sanctuary person, and that's what I would really like in our zoning. But I just got a real good lesson on making sure that when you do have open space, that you really dial in what that means. No grading, no digging, no plant disruption, no animal disruption other than basic paths and walks. And keep that in mind when you have it. We're getting into a situation where we're going to have open land from the state and from the BLM. BLM federal and then also the state that we're going to be getting or private individuals or businesses will be able to buy into unless we think ahead where that area that's green that's around us now that we keep assuming is ours, which is not. It's sometimes private, it's sometimes state, it's sometimes federal. And federal land can go anytime. So that wonderful area that you've looked to have forever could be up for grabs at any time. We look ahead for where animals are going to migrate, insects need to have for their habitats and those things so that when those lands come up, we're ready to say, as Carson, we'd like to keep this. We have to think ahead. We can't get behind on these things because there are going to be developers that can always mitigate floodplains or this or that, but you can't unmitigate a situation that was there for one specific insect that needed that one specific habitat and try to get it back. It just doesn't happen. Species are being lost all over the place, and we don't need to do that as a community. Our air quality is based on, instead of the forest, like a lot of the higher areas, we have sage. Well, sage is in danger. The state is looking for ways to have areas that are open so that there are pathways for migrations and such like that. They're asking for us to help them figure those areas out that they will maintain for that. So let's get involved with that and then also with anything's coming up as far as federal lands. Please don't forget our habitat is really keeping our air clean. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Danny. Is there anybody else out there that would like to have some public comment? Okay, hey, so last meeting of 2024. So happy holidays to everybody. Yeah, we'll see you next year sometime in the same spot. So here we go for an adjournment.